welcome to this week's Loose Links. Joining you on the panel this evening is Sue Craven.
Good evening.
Rachel Penny.
Hiya.
Vicky Pearson. And Nicholas Jones. Good evening. Welcome to this week's Loose Links. Join us this evening as we chat about the big story that's been hitting headlines. It doesn't seem to be going out of headlines. That's James Corden and the way that he spoke in a restaurant. Do we accept rudeness in the land of 2022? Also, we talk about 45 days as a Prime Minister, but getting the pension and the benefits after leaving just after 45 days. Find out our view on that. And we talk about the most famous story that's hit headlines this week, and that's Matt Hancock entering I'm a Celebrity. But actually, should his TV days be over? All that and a hell of a lot more on this week's Loose Links. Good evening, panel!
Evening.
Hi, how are we all doing?
Can I just, I need either ear defenders or turn my volume down.
Shut your face, Rachel, shut up. Right, as we start this evening, I'd like to apologise. We were supposed to do a Halloween special last week. Sue had a costume ready and everything. She was ready to go, but we had to cancel it because at the end of the previous week's recording, the computer was full and wouldn't allow me to do any more recordings, which made me go into panic mode. But our IT expert came to the rescue, and that was Vicky Pearson, and completely cleared the computer and we record again. So well done, Vicky, thank you very much.
Can I just add, Nick is younger than me, and as a millennial, I just want to prove that some millennials don't know anything about computers.
That's me. That's me. I hold my hands up completely to that. Join us this evening. Joining me on the panel is Sue Craven, Rachel Penny, and Vicky Pearson. As we talk about this week, let's start on James Corden has called his restaurant ban the most severe moment as he denies screaming at anyone. The Late Late Show host found himself in a hot water over an argument over the New York eatery, who claims he was extremely nasty to staff after he sent back an omelette, allegedly telling staff that they couldn't do their jobs. He was banned from the restaurant. The restaurant owner banned him on the spot and said that he was the most abusive customer he had ever had. So ladies, I don't know if you've heard about this story in the news this week, but do you think the restaurant manager did the right thing?
Can I add something that I actually found out that totally changes your opinion on this whole story? Is that James's wife has an allergy, and he told the restaurant about the allergy and they didn't adhere to that, so the food that they received could have been really potentially quite fatal. So he had an overreaction out of a fear, and I don't think the headlines are publicising that aspect. They're going for the sensationalism of somebody being a star and a diva. I'm not, I liked Gavin and Stacey, and that's what I know him from, and I know he's quite big in America, but he's not been on my radar much. But I don't know, I think I've had some experiences in restaurants. I'm very English about it though. I'm really polite and go home and write a really bad review.
I don't like upsetting anybody either.
Choice. Don't be rude. There's no point with the staff, is there? But if you've had a particularly good or bad experience, but that's because we're British, isn't it? I think.
There was a couple of times that it happened though to him, I think. But since then he's had a word with the manager and or the owner, and the ban has been lifted. So so this is just it can make you have an opinion of somebody that's not quite right, and it's not quite right. But with Google these days, you can find anything out. the truth.
Do you think though, Sue, do you think actually for the restaurant owner, because obviously James Corden can bring a lot of people to that restaurant and can make him kind of big, but actually, do you think the boss did right? Because the boss really was protecting his employees and was making a stand. Would you call that a good boss?
I think he was trying to be a good boss. As Vicky said, we didn't know the whole story, because I didn't know the whole story. But I think even if it was life, you know, potentially life-threatening to his wife, he could have said it in a nicer way, in a firmer way. I think sometimes people, be it whatever nationality, people can be so rude and treat the staff so not kindly, you know, and there's no need for that. And I think it's good that the owner did stand up for them.
Yeah, definitely. I've worked in a few jobs in kitchens and customer service in particular, and I've had good and bad experiences with bosses where, you know, I've I used to work for Woolworths back in the day, in the CAF. And, you know, occasionally we'd have someone come in who'd be really aggressive, and our boss was great. You know, after we'd dealt with it, she'd take us aside and we'd have like a debrief, and she'd give us like half an hour off to like calm yourself down and have a cup of tea, you know, and that was amazing. But then I worked somewhere where, you know, they told the customer, even though it was all recorded and everything I did was by the book, that they were right and I was wrong, you know, and really made me feel really stupid in a situation where I was doing what I should have been doing. And yeah, I think, yeah, sticking up for your staff, I think, is definitely a good, especially for an employee, it's the side of a good boss, isn't it?
And some people, when they're so rude, and I think you get more and more. We went away the beginning of September, and to a very nice hotel, and some of the people there, the way they spoke, and a lot of them were English, and the way clicking their fingers, come here, I felt embarrassed, because I thought that is not the way you speak to people.
Yeah.
Do you
It's
think?
not good.
Do you think though? Because it did make me think about power and about climbing up the ladder and about feeling like you're somebody important. Do you think that we need to self-analyze ourselves sometimes? We need to take a long, hard look in the mirror and be aware of how we are being affected by power ourselves, if we climb up the ladder, or if we take a promotion, or if this, that, and the other, and the way we speak to other people. Because I really do believe in that saying, power can go to people's heads. It can go massively to people's heads. And okay, I sort of get what you're saying, Vicky, about if that was what you said about the allergy and he was reacting to fear. But there's also a big moment where you have to think to yourself, if I was James Corden, do I want to portray myself like this? Is this the best way of me getting an opinion across to somebody, to say I am not happy with this? Because he just, to be shouted down by a celebrity and bellowed at, do you think you would react, or do you think you'll stand there going, well, I can't bring a reaction because this man's important?
Yeah, I think from both sides, I think celebrities are only human, and I'm incredibly hot-headed, and I have to spend a lot of time. Sometimes I have to like give myself a 24-hour period to respond to things, to make sure I've calmed down and really thought about it, reread it, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, they are only human, but then on the same side, I get it from the side of the staff, really. You know, it would be absolutely devastating, and you'd probably have to have the rest of the night off, and you'd feel terrible, you know, and it can trigger things like PTSD. I know some people will laugh at that, but things like that could trigger things like that, depending on the person and what.
I think the whole thing, though, it was blown out of proportion, because quite honestly, if it was me, to be honest, I'm quite a calm person, and I bottle things up, and I'm what are you smirking at? I just smoke and just say, yeah, but I'm quite calm, and I think about things first before I react. But I think in that situation, if you'd forwarded some sort of knowledge to the restaurant first of all, in first hand, to say that this is potentially a problem, you know, then, and it went wrong, the potential for that to happen and for him to lose his wife is very real. And so I'd go probably a little bit mental first off, but then thinking about it, then make a public apology, which he has done, and it's all blown out of proportion. But I don't think this is the first time it happened. But I've got a little plaque in my kitchen that says, "It's nice to be important, but it's also more important to be nice."
Yeah.
I don't think this reflects in what James Corden did, because I don't think he would have stood and thought, hang on a minute, my wife's potentially going to have this omelette that's going to kill her. Hang on, how should I cope with this? He's not going to be thinking like that. He's going to be irrational quite quickly.
But Sue said this wasn't the first time, Rachel. This has happened a couple of times from Mr. Corden.
Well, has it happened a couple of times that they've got the restaurant got it wrong, or happened a couple of times that he's got nasty? Now, you don't know, do you? It says that this has happened a couple of times. So if it happened once, there shouldn't have been a second time, should there?
No. But Sue, was about, because Sue, you've been a boss, haven't you? And Vicky, you've been a boss. Do you think if
I've done something in my life? Yeah.
And Rachel, you've been a boss. But if Mr. Corden had come to you as restaurant manager and said, "I apologise and okay, that I'd lift the ban," would you, as an employer, say, "Well, I accept your apology, but you also have to apologise to the waitress or waiter that you shouted at"? Do you think that should have happened? Do you think?
Definitely. I've had many occasions when I've had irate people come and say things about, you know, different things within my job, and I've always, or staff, and I've always said, look, let's discuss this, let's sort it out. But I've never lost my temper, and I would never shout back or anything, but I've also always tried to make them see reason. I think everybody would be as professional as you can, and I think there's no excuse. Yes, okay, he was worried about his wife, but there's no excuse for anybody to shout about, really. I think not to lose your temper. I think you've got to calm them down, and I think he was wrong. I do, and whatever anybody says, there's many a time I thought to myself, oh, I want to, but you have to be professional, and you have to think about the person that you're talking to.
Yeah, I'd say if you're in a position of management, you're going to be dealing with a lot of these difficult situations, because managing people is really difficult. I don't think you quite realise how difficult until you get there, and judging and balancing that, you know, good stuff, bad stuff, you know, what's genuine thing. So yeah, it is very difficult. Can't think where I was going with that point at all.
Well, moving forward, ladies, we can't escape it because it seems to be in the news all the time. We're going to talk a little bit about politics. It seems to be right at the heart of Lincolnshire at the moment and everywhere else. But despite making history and spending only 45 days in the job before resigning, Liz Truss is set to be offered the same packages as all former residents of Number 10. But what are the perks she could get? Public allowance. All former prime ministers are able to claim public duty cost allowance, currently set at the maximum of 115,000 per year. That's just one of her perks that she's getting. There's loads here I could read, but we'll spend all night reading the topic and not actually discussing it. But do you think that it's right that she gets all of this money and all of this pension only being in office for 45 days?
I think it's an unprecedented situation. I think there's only been 2 other prime ministers in the last 100 years who have had a similar time in office, and both of those were out of office for very different reasons. This is the only one that's kind of been out of office due to complete incompetence. But so I think there needs to be a change in the law. I don't think that she should be entitled to it at all. And I think this needs to put forward to Parliament an area that needs to be dealt with. You know, that I mean, it's ironic really that the Conservative Party were the one that brought in the fixed term parliament. They said that they've had enough of elections all the time, and parties being able to call elections when it's convenient. So they put in a fixed 7-year term of parliament, and not 7 years. But yeah, they put that in. And now they're calling elections once, twice a year. I mean, it's just absolutely ludicrous, isn't it? I think there needs to be some real fundamental looks at our democratic system and the way things are operated. And I think, I mean, I always say this, and I've always thought this even before this, I think we need to completely overhaul the whole system. It's over 100 years old. It's ridiculous.
Well, they're calling it a reward for failure, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it is. But what happens to Joe Bloggs in the street? You know, he goes into a job, and you can be sacked within the year. You get
2 years.
Nothing.
You can have your probationary 3 or 6 months, and you can go at the end of that.
It's ridiculous. And these are the people who get richer and richer. They're supposed to be supposedly representing us, and they're fleecing the country. They really are. It's just not right. It's not right.
No,
when you look at stats as well, because I've been looking at stats. When you look at stats and how long you've got to be in work before you can claim maternity pay, how long you've got to be in work before you can claim national sick pay. If you're not up to job standard by a company, you can go on capability. Why are these rules set in Parliament as well? So to my mind, and this is only my opinion, and people out there feel free to disagree with me, but in my mind, she didn't do the job correctly. She waltzed in, she set all these rules up, she saw it was failing, and she waltzed straight back out again for somebody else to pick it up and fix it. Well, in my mind, why can't she be put on capability and been told, actually, you've gone for this job, but you clearly can't do it. So
because they made the rules, Nick. They made all the rules in the first place.
And as Vicky said, they're outdated. 100 years, they need to all be overruled, but all, got rid of and started again. But they won't, will they? Who's going to do that? And not only does she get that money, but she gets lifetime police protection as well. Yeah. And then you've got people who are having accidents, and you're asking if the police can come. I had an incident today. I saw something happen. I knew it was clearly an incident. I rang up and said, look, somebody needs to come. And no, there wasn't time. Nobody could come. They may ring me back. I'm still waiting to hear. So, and yet she'll get police protection for a year. For years, well, forever, a family will. And like you said, and I think it was a farce, all the weeks we waited for all the constituency, all the party, members of the party to vote, and look what happens. And then, us as Joe Bloggs, as you say, we knew she wouldn't be up to the job.
But don't you find it shocking? Because I didn't know this about Prime Minister at all. I didn't realise how much they can claim when they've left office, basically. But what's shocking is a Prime Minister can be in place for a day and claim all this. Claim all this money.
It's not claimed, it's given to them.
I know.
They don't claim it. It's given. It's a God-given thing.
But do you think there should be a rule set in place that actually, if you mess up, if you can't live up to being Prime Minister, you don't get that at the end of it? Yeah. You don't. It's like it's like what you said, Sue. It's like a 6 and 3 month probation. Why if we as Rachel says, Joe Bloggs down here have to go through all that aggro to get a secure job? Why the hell isn't the Prime Minister doing it as well?
They shouldn't get it unless they complete a full term.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I think you're right.
Let's say if they completed a full term of Parliament as leader, then yes, they do deserve it. Now, our Prime Ministers and our political leaders are actually paid substantially less than most other countries around the world. Obviously, there's some bad countries in there as well. But they are it is quite a lot. People don't do the job for the money, specifically for that job, but the perks make it worth it afterwards. So really, they should have to do that minimum term to have earned that perks, because that's where the benefits of doing the job come in.
Yeah, they should earn it.
Yes.
They should earn it the full term rather than 44, 45 days. Definitely.
I just find it shocking. And do you think if a prime minister hasn't, so that you build up to be a prime minister, don't you? You couldn't pay me enough money in the world to go for that position. I just would not want to sit in that seat at all. But actually, do you think if you go to prime minister stage and you fail, and you are very clear to fail, that that's the end of the day for you in politics? Do you think actually leave completely? Absolutely, you've done enough damage here. I think the best thing you can do now is publicly walk away.
Back to stage school, I think. They're all a bunch of actors, aren't they?
Massively. It's scary, isn't it? But good luck to the new prime minister who's in post. Let's hope that he can push us that little bit more forward. But we'll see. We'll see. I haven't got high hopes. We'll see. But we slowly move on to another politician story. This is the last one of the evening, I promise. I'm a Celebrity's back, ladies. Are you a fan?
I love it.
I
Do
live
you?
here.
Do you?
I don't watch TV, but I watch that because it can be quite hilarious. But yeah, this year I know not half of them.
No.
But
What about you, Sue? Were you glued to the telly last night at 9 o'clock?
No, but I will watch towards the end, and I love to see, because one's already gone, Rachel, hasn't she?
Has she?
Yeah. One's gone today, the reality TV woman or somebody from
the
Love
one on Love
Island.
Island.
Yeah, she's gone.
Why?
Not surprised there.
Health reasons.
Not surprised there at all. Not surprised one sec. But talking about I'm a Celebrity's biggest earner ever, Matt Hancock's pockets £4,000 for his jungle stint. Following the news of the former health secretary, Matt Hancock will be paid around £40,000, for going in I'm a Celebrity. We'll take a look at some points of his earnings on the show and the amounts that he pockets. Some stars need an awful lot of cash to be tempted away from their pampered lives and hang out with creepy crawlies and snakes. Well, I think he's one himself, to be honest. In Australia, jungle with I'm a Celebrity. However, some big news gets from far down under, as ITV bosses clearly hoping the star and power and entertainment value will pull in viewers. We do have a little video on this, because I think Denise Welch this week on Loose Women said it absolutely amazingly. See what you think to this, ladies. Oh, it's not playing. Oh.
Even when we had the vaccines that were supposed to free us, masks were working, we had tests. So we could say, I will do a test before I go and visit my dad who is lonely in his house. No, whilst he was having an affair with some woman in the broom closet or wherever he was. The government from day one of this were carrying on in Downing Street. What about if we weren't supposed to even pick up a book off a bookshelf in those ridiculous times when the books were banned? Because we haven't got long on this. So I know that you have an issue with government policy during lockdown. With Matt Hancock's policy, he was at the forefront. We've discussed that a lot. But he's not a celebrity. What is your problem? So that's what I wanted to get to the nitty gritty of. So your anger in this particular instance is that he's using. I don't care whether he's a politician or whether whoever he is. Right. He's the health secretary of this country, and he's going to go in there and pretend that he's Mr. Nice Guy. And what annoys me is that if one person, I tell you what, I've never ever envied people going in the jungle. I love the show and I'm a huge viewer, but I'd go in there for 1 hour. I don't think
Do you think she has a point?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
think? I think it's ludicrous. I'm really cross about it actually. And why ITV bosses thought, oh my word, let's get Matt Hancock into the jungle is beyond me. I'm even that wound up by it that I'm tempted not to watch it this year because he's on it, because I don't want to see him.
No,
What
I
makes,
think like that.
do you think he's got a point? Do you think Denise's got a point? And do you think Matt Hancock's TV days should be over?
Definitely. He's not a celebrity. Definitely not a celebrity. But I was looking at what minister he was for. He was minister also for media and enterprise. And so you can, he's just another actor as well. And thing is, he made a law that is supposed to, everybody had to adhere to, ruined lots of people's lives because we thought it was the right thing to do. They were in control and they had all the facts in front of them, and they instilled this law within our country to make people safer, is what we thought. And a lot of people lost that precious time with their loved ones. Now, he had a fling. This is a fling. You weren't even allowed to touch anybody, yet he was spotted kissing somebody, let alone there was a sex ban as well. And he, that doesn't upset me though, but it hurt a lot of people. My mum had a funeral in 2021. We could only have 30 people at the funeral, all spaced out. Not what she had lots of people that were friends. And at home, when we came back for the wake, only 6 people in the house at one time. We had a few people outside and we'd swap places just in case somebody spotted us. So, it was bad, and he was cavorting around with her. He shouldn't rub our noses in it by coming on here, especially when the country's in a state of economic crisis as it is, and rubbing her nose in it for getting £400,000 for doing it, showing his face. He's got a blinking nerve.
He has.
Some of us were shielding, so we weren't out of our house for like a year.
No.
And completely. I think it is a joke. I think it is 400,000 he's being paid. It's not 40,000. It is the 400,000.
400,000, yeah.
Paid, and they've had some pretty impressive people on there. I haven't watched it in years because it kind of just got a bit old for me, and I just know less and less people because I don't have a TV license, so I don't watch live TV. So that just means that I just watch what I want to watch on Netflix and Amazon.
Oh, I don't know how you do that, Vicky. I don't know how you do that.
Brilliant.
No way.
Occasionally and read articles, and I want to learn, not be force fed.
And the thing is, with this role of Matt Hancock as well, we had, even if you didn't, I consider myself very lucky through lockdown. So I did catch COVID. I did, and I was hospitalised for COVID. But I didn't lose anybody close via COVID. Nobody died, apart from Georgina, bless her heart. But nobody died that I was very, very close to. But as a nation, we all witnessed the heartbreak when it came to the Queen's husband's funeral, and how she sat there on her own in tears, and it was heartbreaking for the nation watching her, sat there trying to keep it together while the camera's in her face. And Matt is saying to us, it gets me so angry. Matt is saying to us that we need to be apart, that we can't see anybody, but la-di-da-di-da. But when the camera's not on, I'll hide in a cupboard and I'll snog somebody. I just think, if you're going to lay rules, and I think that's why we're losing faith in our government now, why we are losing faith.
No.
We can't trust anybody.
Not losing, I'm sorry, lost.
Yeah.
We've lost. We're not losing, we have lost. And I don't think there's many people that, I mean, I can say hand on heart, I have voted Tory in the last few years. I will never, ever vote Tory again. And this is just one of the things that he has you know, this Matt Hancock fiasco, this is another nail in their coffin, because it's absolutely ridiculous.
Warms my heart to hear those words so much. It really does. I mean, I don't cry often. Lifelong
Yeah.
Tory voters, no longer voting Tory. I mean, that gets to me.
And I'll tell you, it is, and it's been many years. I
Even
won't.
Boris gone to Hollywood. Is talking to Hollywood people, isn't he? In Endeavour, the talent agency for
Who is?
Boris.
Oh.
Talking to a talent agency
Fame
called
and power.
Endeavour.
They just want fame and power. That's all
Yes.
they want to be in the. I think Boris wanted to be in the history books. I don't think he's in the history books for what he wanted to be in there, but he had massive aspirations. Some of the others, I mean, Liz Truss just seemed insane. Some of
Yeah.
the like, you're not mentally stable, you know, not, and I don't mean that in a horrible way to people who are not mentally stable, because, you know, I'd probably class myself as that. So, but like, you know, she seemed like the Queen Elizabethan character from Blackadder. Someone put her side by side, and
Yeah.
it was just, I was wetting myself. It's like, that's insane, isn't it? Somebody like that was put in charge of the country.
Weak.
People in this country, incredible minds, and none of them are in politics at the minute. None of them are in conservative politics at the minute. I'm not, you know, and I mean, I'm not a fan of Labour either, so it's a bit of a disaster for everything.
But that's my point, Vicky. Is Matt Hancock a politician or a celebrity?
Well, he's Matt Hancock. Even by doing this, all his constituents who voted for him, they haven't got a parliament. They haven't got an MP now because he's in there earning all that money. What if there's something major somebody wants to talk about, anything? He's not thinking about. So he's still being paid for that, and then getting his celebrity money.
Poor ex-wife that will see him all over ITV's I'm a Celebrity. She won't be able to get away from it at all, because it'll be.
She will, because she won't watch it.
Yeah, but it'll be all over social media. So look how much it's hit press because he's going into the jungle. Do you know what I mean? It's not, and
Yeah.
I just think, what are ITV thinking? Honestly, what are they thinking? But
It worked, didn't it? Everyone's talking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But for good reasons or bad reasons? Do you think it might put viewers off on
I don't
some
think some of these media outlets care anymore, and that's also part of the problem.
Rachel, you'll still watch?
I'll still watch, but I think it'll probably get quite boring, because everybody will vote him to do all the nasty jobs, and it'll get boring after a while. And then that won't be very harmonious within the camp, will it? So I think
No.
I'll watch it for that reason. But it might be nice for him to realise and think, you know, and think of his position and hand all the money over to charity.
Yes, but he
like
won't.
he's going to do that, Rachel.
He won't
Like
do that, will he?
like
It'll be
he's
his
gonna
new
bloody do
family.
But let's go back to him breaking the rules. Actually, let's go back a year or so, ladies. Actually, when it all came out and Matt Hancock was found out, do you think actually he should have had more of a serious punishment than what he actually had? Do you think he was breaking the law? Do you think he should have gone to prison?
He did break the law.
Yeah. Do you think actually
Broke two laws.
public would have been more happy to see him behind bars?
I think with great power comes great responsibility, and that should be reflected in both the benefits and the consequences for dealing with that in the way it's been dealt with. You know, I mean, the benefits for great leaders, we've had some great leaders in this country, you know, and they deserve every penny of that. But I think some of these people, there needs to be some serious consequences, because people died because of their mistakes, and state sanctioned murder,
And died alone.
You know, and there's other areas this has gone on in the disabled community and things like that, you know, and there just seems to be no consequences at all. And I think that's a really serious problem when they've got that much power and that much responsibility.
It's scary, isn't it? But let's flip it on its head a little bit then. So say like Matt Hancock does a press release about I'm a Celebrity, and I know it's all kept very secret, and Ant and Dec, especially Dec last night, was hinting about oh, there's a Matt coming in and stuff like that, and we're all preparing for him to come in. I was watching it behind closed bloody hands last night, honestly, because I was dreading him on a boat coming in. Like, I hope they bring the most dreadful trials to him, and he's just has a dreadful experience. That sounds awful, doesn't it? But if he did a press release and said, right, I'm a celebrity, but all the money that I am earning, every single penny that I am earning, is going to my constituency and is also going to local government to put money back into the system. How would you feel if he said that?
Better.
I don't think they actually can.
No.
A restricted ring fence system that it'd have to be, they could give it to political parties. That's problematic.
I think, as Rachel said, he should say, I'm going to give it to charities.
Do you think?
Maybe like long COVID. Give it to long COVID. That'd be a great charity for research.
But that's after the fact, though, isn't it? It's afterthought. So he's only done it to save his own embarrassment. So he just should pull out, really.
Yeah, I think so.
To save all the embarrassment, because I think I'd be probably a little bit embarrassed to watch, because that grin that he's got on his face will be wiped off quite quickly, because I think the people in the camp as well.
I do wonder if people in camp will react to him.
I've not
I
thought
think they will. I think they will.
Because I don't think ITV have thought about that at all, really. I think a lot of people will have quite.
I think they have thought of it. I think
that
they
makes
thought very well.
little quiet words with him about it. I want to see that.
It's like Denise said in it, give me 1 hour in that jungle and I'll be happy. I'll be able to speak to her and stuff like that. But let's
Sunny attendant.
Yeah, let's bore off politics a little bit now. Let's bore off, because it's been quite heavy politics this week. As we talk about Netflix. Netflix has got a new drama on coming very soon, but it's been pushed forward to next year. I know you're all going to love this drama and love this topic, because it's all about Harry and Meghan.
Oh.
So we go forward talking about them. London for a series that technically never announced. There's an awful lot of chatter around the Duke and Duchess of Sussex forthcoming documentary. For those who need chatting up, things kick off when entertainment industry Deadline responded Netflix was rather by criticism of the upcoming season of The Crown. As the result, the streamer had decided to push the release of the Sussex show from December into next year. The final season of The Crown, which drops on the 9th of November, is reaching the 1990s, a decade for the family which saw dismal 3 royal marriages and public opinion of the Windsors plummet. So, ladies, we saw a lot on Meghan and Harry and how the press have shown Harry at the moment seems to be not happy. But do you think this is real? And do you believe our prince is really not a happy man at the moment?
I don't know a lot about the whole situation, and I don't have any strong opinions like other people in the chat show. I mean, I probably watch it just to learn more about it, so I don't know. But I mean, from what I know about the royal family, it seems to be like it's a prison, and there's so much structure and regulation and you know, tradition and all of that goes into it, that actually you are born into something like a geisha in Japan, where you're just formed and you have a job and you know that's your thing. And I mean, as a wild child free spirit, for me, I couldn't ever imagine being in that position or being part of that family. There's an interesting video, I think it says, is it Stephen Colbert interviewed Meghan Markle before the wedding? It says, do you know what you're getting into? And she joked, she goes, no, do you know what you're getting into? And that's resurfaced recently, because I don't think You know, it is a really hard. It is a really hard job being in that family. You know, not for the job, but just for the fact that I would feel trapped.
Mm.
Do you think there's been it keeps resulting into that video though of William and Harry and their spouses getting into a car. Now it keeps resulting in that Harry assisted Meghan to the car door, opened the car door, made sure she got on in all right, closed the car door, went round the car and got him in himself. Where William, they both walked separate ends of the car, they both opened the door, they both got into the car, and they're saying actually, as Harry got the better relationship, as Harry got the more intimate sort of, and we see that on camera, but with William, we don't.
I think they've both got different jobs, quite honestly. Well, they have got different jobs because William and Kate, they were they've been in this position a lot longer than Harry and Meghan have, and you know, Kate looks quite comfortable in that position, and Meghan doesn't want to be in that position, does she? So she's really the wife, and she's a different type of person. She's very clingy. She's an actress. Whereas Kate has been brought up in a similar way with aristocracy, and so she's been brought up differently. But I think she can stand up for herself, and think she's going to be quite an asset to William, if not already. But you know, I think they're both completely different women.
And I think, I mean, like you, I don't know them, and I don't pretend, and this is just my opinion, and don't shoot me. I think that Meghan's very high maintenance. I think she seems very highly strung, just from little things we've seen. And I think she's high maintenance. And I think, whereas, as Rachel said, Kate has been brought up in that way. So it reminds me of Edward and Mrs. Simpson. Now that's showing my age, because I think it's the same sort of thing. She didn't want to, you know, he didn't become king because she an American divorcee. She couldn't cope with the limelight. She could. She wanted to be queen, didn't she? But she couldn't. And it just reminds me of that scenario, but a more modern version.
So I'm going to sit on the fence a little bit, though. I am going to sit on the fence a little bit, because the thing is, we don't know their reactions.
We don't
at all. We don't know if Kate said to William, "Well, you could have bloody opened the car door for me." It looks really bad on that. But let's put it personally, because I feel like we're always on at Meghan Markle a little bit, and I am a little Meghan fan. I will be honest, I am a little Meghan fan. So Sue, picture the scene, right? I'm going to put it in, I'm going to throw it at you because you've said it, right? Picture the scene. You go out with your friend in the evening, all four of you, your husband, your friend and their husband, and you sat around eating dinner, and you go to the car, and her husband opens the car door for her, brings her in, close the door, and your husband just gets in his car seat and you sit in the front. Would you be a little bit offended? Would you say to your husband, "Hang on a minute, hold on, what's going on here? Why aren't you opening the car door for me?"
No. Hey, it's what?
Me.
No. I wouldn't be offended, to be honest.
Would you not?
No.
I would be a little bit offended, especially if it's done quite publicly.
The Queen and Prince Philip didn't always do that. He was a gentleman, and they're a wonderful couple together. Beautiful marriage, love story, those two. But you'd see them both get out the car. But somebody, the later years with the Queen, she had somebody open the door for her. But Prince Philip would get out one side and she'd get out the other.
Yeah.
But do you think I'm going to be on the against Meghan a little bit here? Do you think Meghan has turned Harry from royalist to celebrity?
A wuss.
A wuss. Why? Do you know, panel, you're talking so much tonight. Can you all just calm yourselves down? Because I can't keep up with it.
Well,
Why do you wuss, Rachel?
well, it's made. Having said that, you've seen that app that I had on my phone, didn't you, Nick? Where you can change what people say and their mouths and everything. And I got my son and his cousin having a chat to each other. And then I'm Bruce Lee. I go, I'm water. I flow like this. And it looks like I'm saying it, but I'm not. A lot of things can be done with trickery of photography. A lot of things can be chopped and put together. And you can't believe absolutely everything you see on TV. And
Or reading the papers.
no, why should it bother us whether somebody opened a car door? You know, if it bothers them that much, let them get on the high horse about it. Doesn't make any difference to me.
No, or me.
You know, it showed actually, if anything, that William and Kate, they had quite a dignified, strong relationship. They didn't need to be doing things like that. If that's my opinion anyway.
It's all right, because if Sue doesn't like them, she kills them off. She told us in the last show, so she kills them off.
Don't start rumours like that.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you feel that, because 90% of the nation, when a relationship starts to fail, they really work at it, don't they? You want to work at it. You want, like a marriage, if you've chosen to be married and stuff like that, you want to work at it. You want to keep going at it. You don't just give up at the first hurdle. Do you think that's what Harry's doing? Do you think now he feels, I'm stuck in this. This was a decision. I made my bed. I need to lie in it? Because press now are really, really hastening on how Meghan grabs his hand and he pulls away and how they're turning against you. Do you think Harry feels like he's now stuck in this relationship?
It's not our place to say, really, and it's not even our place to, because we don't know them. You know, we can form our own opinion, but who's to know we're right?
It's making things up, because that I wouldn't even think about that unless I read it or saw pictures of it. But it doesn't really matter, does it? It at the end of the day. But if any of them, either Meghan or Harry, who has lost the most, I would say Harry has lost a hell of a lot. And first he lost his mum, and then now he's lost his family that he grew up to be in. And your identity is completely changed. So whatever he's going through, I hope he manages it well and he doesn't suffer for it in the future. Time will tell, won't it? Time will tell.
Massively. So we move on, ladies, to Sex in the City star, Miss Caroline Bradshaw, as she's shared a news article this week about the importance of sex and how it's really, really important, even in your 50s and 60s, that you still have regular sex. But she says that it changes over time between genders. So we are going back. She is very talking about the older generation and genders. So she is talking about male and female and the boundaries and stuff like that. But ladies, do you believe sex is different for men and women? Let's go to you first, Rachel. Do you think sex?
Oh my goodness!
Do you think sex?
Me.
Do you think sex is very different between a man and a woman, even in younger to older days?
Well, yes. Fundamentally, when you're older, you don't have to worry about being pregnant, do you? And you can, I suppose, It's very difficult because look at you, you're making me squirm, aren't you, at this?
I don't know.
because I'm not in a relationship at the moment, am I?
Well, I'm not either, but I think for me, as I've got older, sex has changed massively.
I think actually it's the older you get, it's better. But I don't know. I think you can. I think you've got no inhibitions. When you get to a certain age, actually, there's a small window actually when you get to a certain age when you feel comfortable with yourself, and then it just teeters over the edge of that age, and you think, oh my goodness, how did it go now south, so south? And then you think, oh.
So
my
what
goodness,
about you? Do you think sex is different as you get older?
Talking to me?
Yeah.
I'm not making any comment. I'm not entering into this conversation. Thank you very much.
But do you think
on the paperwork? I never saw this question.
I never saw this question coming, because if I had, I wouldn't have been on tonight.
But do you think it is different? We're not talking about your personal sex life, but do you think it is different from a 20-year-old to what you are now at 75? Do you think it's a very, very
There's a button at the top of it. It says leave. Shall I leave now?
Yeah.
But so do you think it is? Do you think it becomes less important?
No. Not in a loving relationship. And I think what Rachel says, you don't worry about getting pregnant. I think it's just a different sort of.
What about you, Vicky, as our young millennial? What do you think? Do you think sex is different as we get older?
Millennial or geriatric millennial is a cusp. 100%, because when you're young, you don't even know anything, do you?
No.
You know, it as a woman, there's a lot of pressure there that's put on you, and you don't know what's right and wrong because no one tells you. As a woman, there's just no education, you know, and you know, I mean, we grew up during Section 28 period where there was no real proper sexual education and no LGBT support or discussion at all, you know, so people don't know a lot of this stuff when they're younger. And I think as people get older, I suppose you know what you like and what you don't like, and who you like and who you don't like, and you do things because you think socially you should be doing them, and you start doing things that you actually want to do in life, and that across everything, doesn't it?
And but I see, as a child, I never had birds and the bees story, even though that saying's been going around for years. Oh, parents need to have the birds and the bees story and all of that, and it's awkward. Do you think actually parents avoid the conversation of sex with their children? Do you think actually that we think as parents, actually they'll learn more about that at school, and they'll learn more about that from their peers and stuff like that? Do you think we avoid the whole conversation with our children about sex?
I think it depends who you are. I think if you're very, very British, you know, it's a hard conversation to have. But my personal social circle of mothers are very pro open discussions and not making anything shameful, but also teaching boys what no means and teaching girls what no means.
Yes.
Those things are different conversations. And I think those things are actually happening a lot more now than they ever did before. So I'd say younger mums are doing an incredible job. But I think, you know, from certain generations before, it was really taboo and there was no discussion.
I started talking to my children through the method of through respect of others. And you're laughing at me again.
It's the way you said those words.
No, the it starts with respect of others, and with children, knowing, you know, boys and respecting girls and girls respecting boys, and it's a two-way thing. And if you've got respect, you don't go in there full blazing and you know, and you know your own children, you know if there's something, you know, when they're ready to be spoken to like that. And you know, and when my daughter went out with her first boyfriend, and she said she liked somebody, that's when you know, she was very young, but that's when I told her then, you know, about that she knew it already.
We were a very open household, and I believe in that. And as you saying, it was always respect, and I think they always say that. And now I notice now with my grandchildren growing up a bit, I mean, they're still young, but they're very open. They're very open and always talk about respecting. And I think it'll happen when they start to talk about. I mean, I had a funny story. My grandson, who's 9, no 8. He's 9. No, sorry, he's not. He's 8. He started swimming, and he swims in lanes now because he's a very good swimmer. He swims for an hour. And he said to me, he came last Friday, he popped in and he said, Grandma, you never guess what he said. I'm with really older girls and boys. And he said, one girl was swimming next to me and she had big hairs hanging out of her arms. So because the subject had never come up, he'd seen his mum, before, and he knows he's seen shavers around and things, but he never is. So I said to my daughter, she said, well, so when we went home over the weekend, we've had that talk about, and so it's beginning to be dropped in about how our bodies change and things, and that's it.
But do you think within life, when we find that longing partner that we've been with for years, do you think sex is almost like you have to adapt, so life gets in the way sometimes? And do you believe a partner should follow you? So for perfect example, that one partner's at home for a week, they're on annual leave, and the other partner's been at work all week, and actually that person is tired and overwhelmed and there's a lot going on and stuff like that, and they just want to relax, and the partner adapts to the person. Do you think when it comes to sex, we need to find somebody on the same page as us, as the same, and be able to adapt in life to, actually, I am tired? Because it's that well-known saying for women, ladies, I am going to put you on the spot here, that a man might indicate it, and oh my word, I've got a headache and I need to go to bed, quickly in your bed and you're asleep and stuff like that. Do you think that it needs to be a bit like that through life when it comes to sex? Let's go to you first, Sue.
I think it is. I think if you've got a loving, open relationship, I think that's how it is. You respect each other, as we've been talking about respect. And yes, I do. I think you work it out between you.
What about you, Vicky?
I don't know. I think a good relationship, I guess you're already quite compatible. And if things change and you make the decision whether that's a change you can work with or whether that is a change you can't, you know, and both of those things are totally valid. You know, and not all relationships are meant to last forever.
No.
There's a poem that I absolutely love called A Reason, a Season and a Lifetime, and anyone interested in that should search it. But you know, some people are meant to be there forever and other people are meant to be there to teach us things or give us experiences. So, and none of them are wrong.
Rachel, I've got one more scenario for you. One more scenario on this subject, and then we'll move on. So you find the perfect man. He's absolutely perfect in every single aspect. You can't be more happy.
Yes,
apart from one thing, he says that he wants a sexless relationship.
Oh,
could you do it?
Good grief, no. No. It's a big part of a marriage and a big part of a relationship. It's not the be all and end all, but it's a big part. Unless if I was the same, then that would be fine, but I'm not.
What about you, Sue? Could you do it? Could you do a sexless relationship?
No, I'm not. I don't know. I think it's you both consulting. I'm not talking about.
Depends how tired I am.
I'm very happy, thank you.
Let's move on to our final subject.
Moving on. Yeah.
Now let's move on to so Denise Van Alten has ex-fiance Eddie Boschel says they haven't spoke since the bitter split. Former celebrity Gogglebox star Eddie has opened up about his shock split from ex-fiance Denise Van Alten, admitting that the pair haven't spoke since the breakup. Denise's ex-fiance Eddie has finally broken his silence on their shock split, revealing that the former power couple haven't spoken a word to each other since they've gone their separate ways in March. Celebrity Gogglebox star Denise, 48, announces her shocking split from Eddie almost 9 months ago after the pair split. Pair split after 7 blissful years together. At the time, Denise shared the heartache after discovering that her husband-to-be was messaging other women behind her back. And after the devastating discovery, Denise insisted that her own self-worth and self-respect was more valued than trying to make the relationship work with Eddie. So this got me thinking about ex-partners. Ladies, do you think you can really, realistically be friends with an ex-partner?
Well, I am.
And was that difficult though at the beginning, Rachel? Was that quite intense and difficult at the beginning when you first split to try and find that mutual ground of friendship?
Well, we're still married, but we don't live together. But it was a different situation. I didn't intentionally leave because I came to live with my mum, look after her, and I never went home because there was things I didn't want to go back to. But I know there is still a love there. We can't live together anymore because I don't really want to see what I see. I don't want to. He's not very well, and it's not a case of not being very well. I'm not looking after him. Anyway, that's immaterial. That is. But we're friends. I still go back. I still have dinner with them all, and my daughter's there. And I still love him. I've been with him for 42 years, married for 35. Well, married for 35 years married, still married, and so I still care about him, and he cares about me. I think if you care about somebody, you can still hold on to it. But there are some times when we have a little argument and tiff, and I walk out, and he. But there's nothing major. I know that he'd be there for me, and I'd be there for him. So it can happen.
What do you think, Sue? Do you think you could be friends with an ex-partner?
Yes, I do. I agree with Rachel. It can be difficult. I mean, unfortunately, my ex-husband, he died during COVID. But the thing is, I think it's, however much, we fell out of love. But the thing is, we always had the bond of the children. And, I cared for him, and would always have cared for him. Because of the children, and I think it's hard. And as Rachel says, I've never ever taken away from him that whatever went under the bridge with him and I, he was a good father, especially when they were young. And the thing is, no, I think he can. It's very difficult. It's
hard, isn't it? It is hard. But I really envy people that say they've been together since they were 13 and they're now both in their 40s and still together. But do you think it's really important, actually, that everybody goes through the experience of heartache? Do you think actually, even though we want to take that away from our children and pray and bubble wrap them and protect them as much as we can, do you think it's important mentally for ourselves going forward as well to go through the experience of heartache? Go on, Vicky, you have this one. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, Disney's like torture for children, isn't it, when it comes to heartache? Like, I think all of us had our first heartache over like Bambi.
Yeah.
Or various ones, and we still think about it occasionally.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it is important. All life experiences are important, you know, and everyone's experiences will be different on that as well. But I suppose it's anything that teaches empathy and understanding for other human beings is always a good thing. Sometimes you have to go through really hard things and hard times in life, and that's what you take away from it, is that you know, you do care and understand a bit more about other people and what they might be going through.
And that brings us to the end of this week's show, ladies. I always like to finish on Vicky when she's on. I always like to give the last and final question to Vicky, because she's just like, you know, like Jerry, what's his name? Jerry Springer, and his last, what does he say at the end of the show? His final word. And I just feel like I'm going over to Vicky now for her final word as we finish the show. But can you thank my panel this evening? She's a very, very happy lady. That's Sue Craven. The person in black with the mysterious eyes, that's Rachel Penny. And then finishing us off is Vicky Pearson. Join us same time, same place next week for another brand new show. We might delve in a little bit more, you never know. Good night, God bless, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.